Yes, yes. Well, this is a little story I wanted to share with all of you. It's not so much an advocacy video, but it might inspire some people and shows that really anything can be done if you put your mind to it. To make a little bit of background, a little detour, as most of you know, Braille is a system of writing for the blind, and literary Braille consists of 6 dots. Computer Braille is 8 dots, but for most people it's 6 dots because that's for writing numbers and words and letters and things like that. In any case, there's grade 1 Braille, which is writing every single letter of every single word. And then there's grade 2 Braille, which uses contractions. It's kind of like shorthand. So for example, today is TD, tonight is TN. But there are also words that use just symbols. They're not letters at all, like the is a symbol. Some words have just one letter, like the word knowledge is just K. In any case, I have been a Braille reader and writer since the age of 6. And for most of my life, I've used what's called a Perkins Brailler, which is basically, it's like a manual typewriter. It has the 6 keys plus the space bar, backspace, line space, and a carriage. And you just write on it, you put the paper in, roll it out, etc. And when you use a Braille writer, you do all keys at once. So, for example, if I wanted to do the letter N, I would do 1, 3, 4, 5 all at once. The same is true for electronic Braille note takers like the Braille Light and the Braille Note that are like mini computers. But I haven't really used these devices for a while, except for labeling foods, because I thought that Braille was obsolete. I really didn't need it anymore. Everything is on the computer, and I use a regular keyboard and everything else. But something started to interest me, and it was something that I always wanted to learn throughout my life, and I never really was taught. It's called the Slate And Stylus, and it's kind of like the quill in the print world. It's a very old device for Braille. And basically what it is it's 2, usually metal, although nowadays some of them are plastic, 2 sheets of metal with a bunch of Braille cells. That's 6 dots. So you have 1 Braille cell, 2. This particular one I have right next to me has 19 Braille cells going across on each line, and it has 6 lines. And it has a hinge, so that you can put the paper in between, snap it shut, and use a stylus, which is like, it has a sharp end on it. This one that I'm actually holding is made to look like a regular pen, except it doesn't have ink. But most of the time, styli are small, and they just have a little point at the end. And the difference between brailing with a Slate and Stylus and brailing with a Braille writer is that you have to braille every single dot out. So to braille that letter N, I would have to literally braille 1, 3, 4, 5. Only because you have to turn the paper around to read it, I would have to braille it backwards. So it would be 1, 2, 4, 6. Or 4, 6, 1, 2 if you prefer. In any case, I was really drawn by this old device, and I said, I'm going to learn how to do it. I'm going to teach myself. So I had several slates available, and I started out with a big board slate, which is a huge 40-cell, 4-line slate, and it comes with a board that you can use the board to help align the slate to the paper so you don't keep messing up the paper, and you just go down each line. It has holes in it, and that particular slate that comes with the board has little dots on each side so that you could go down one line, down another line, etc., etc. Well, at first I kept making tons and tons of mistakes, and I was getting discouraged. Like, what is wrong with me? Because I kept, writing things. I forgot that I had to write backwards and everything else. But as time went on, I really started to love my time with the Slate and Stylus. I started to look forward to it as a sort of quality time, a nostalgic time. A time to get away from the computer, get away from technology, and really look into myself. And all the things that I was thinking started to flow out of me and into that stylus and onto that paper. And I grew faster and faster and faster with my writing and more accurate. And finally, I decided today to take out the notebook, the pocket braille notebook, which is what I have now, and my small slate that comes with it. Because every time I tried to write with that, I kept making mistakes. So today I grabbed my flat stylus and I grabbed my slate and index cards that I had bought from the dollar store, which is not real braille paper. It's just regular paper, which is a lot thinner than the braille paper. And I was writing beautifully. There were hardly any flaws. It was just coming along great. Everything was, all the dots were showing up and everything. Then I stood up, and my good stylus went flying out of my hand, and I still cannot find it. I don't know where it is. And the only one that I had now was the pen-shaped one, which looks, like I said, exactly like a pen. Same size, it's even a ballpoint. And I said, great. I don't really like this one because every time I use it, I make a mistake. And now I'm using the notebook slate. I'm going to make tons of mistakes. I didn't! It came out great! And for the first time in my life, I was able to use the little holes on the side, because remember, this is not a board slate now. This is just the slate and the table. There is no guide to help me go down each line. But I looked at the holes that the pins produce at the sides of each paper, and I was able to correctly line the paper up so that I could use the entire card, because my slate is a 6-line slate, and this card is, I would say, about 8 lines, maybe 9 lines. So I always had an extra 3 lines on these little papers that was being wasted. But I used the whole thing today. So I went, in essence, from thinking that braille was obsolete and that I really didn't need it anymore, to being curious about how to use this old device, the Slate and Stylus, which a lot of blind people still use today, by the way, to absolutely loving it. This has become a part of my life now that every day I sit down and I look forward to that time and I turn off the computer and I just write. To some of you that story might seem really silly, but to me it really means a lot because I did it without a teacher and I found a new pastime. So for those of you who are blind and thinking, I can't use the Slate and Stylus. Yes, you can. It's really not that difficult. Just take it easy, take it slow, and before you know it, you'll be speed writing. It won't be ever as fast as it is on a braille writer, no matter what anybody says. I mean, even the speed demons can't do that. Just like handwriting will never be as fast as on a typewriter. But it's certainly worth having, and it's very small, and it's very easy to carry around with you when you don't have or want to carry an electronic note-taker or a laptop. Anyway, that is my story. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care. Yes, us.